let's get started. Hi, my name is Rachel. I'm the Education USA Western Canada advisor. First of all, Education USA, we are a State Department-sponsored program. We have more than 400 international student advising centers in more than 170 countries. So this network, we promote the entire higher education, U.S. higher education system. So everything we do is for free. Any questions you have regarding studying the U.S., not only just for universities, but also for postgraduate programs, you can reach out to us. We can help you with that. So for now, we have two advising centers in Canada. I'm based in Vancouver, BC. So my area would be Western Canada, which includes BC, Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. I also have a colleague, Jenica. She's really experienced as well. She's based in Ottawa, Ontario. So her region would be Ontario and West. And here are our social media platforms. We have the recordings of the past presentations. We have all the news about the future webinars and activities that we host. You can follow us for more information. And you can also contact us at our email address here. So in the finally, educationusacanada.ca is our Education USA Canada website. We have a lot of information that's really helpful for students who want to study in the US. And next, I'm really honored to have 4 guest speakers or presenters to join us today. We have Alfred from Cornell Tech. We have Jennifer Hunter from Rice University. We also have Bats from University of Michigan. We have Jessica from USC. So today, it's a really excellent opportunity for us to hear directly from the admission officers. If you have any questions, like I said, you can ask. We have a Q&A section at the end of the presentation, and you can also type your questions in the Q&A section on the right hand as well, so we can address your questions. Okay, now I'll just handle. So who's gonna be our first presenter? I think Jennifer. Okay, welcome, Jennifer.
Off, and then I think Alfred's going to be talking about making the decision, but just to highlight where we all are in the U.S. So Rice is here in Texas, USC, of course, in California, Michigan up there in the top of the map, and then, of course, Cornell Tech over in New York City. So this is just a visual of so you can see where we all are this evening. And I'm going to turn it over to Alfred.
All right, fantastic. Hope everyone's doing well today, and thank you guys for being here. So let's get started and talk about one of the first steps in this process when it comes to thinking about a graduate degree, right? How do you come about making that decision? You're like, how does this make sense for me? Why should I go for a graduate degree? So we're going to talk a little bit about these things right now. So why grad school? Of course, first and foremost, if you love that particular field and you really want to make sure that you're an ultimate expert in that field, this is why this makes sense. You'll have that mastery, you'll have that ultimate expertise. So it's a great way for you to really know your stuff. And of course, advancing in your career, right? Nowadays, of course, a bachelor's is extremely valuable, and it's a great stepping stone for you and your career. But when you have that master's degree, it's definitely an additional opportunity to help you in terms of advancing your career. And as I talked about, it's that stepping stone to the next level. And for those of us, of course, who are maybe thinking about becoming a professor, any kind of teaching instructor in the field, if you're thinking about that, definitely getting your doctorate could certainly be a valuable tool. And of course, I mean, I guess it is kind of cool people call you doctor, right? You know what? That's probably the most important of all these reasons. Forget the mastery, forget the advanced your career. You want people to call you doctor. But yes, all jokes aside, there's many wonderful benefits as to why you would want to take that step and choose grad school. All right, so let's talk about where to start, right? How do you decide what's best for you? Because certainly, I know it sounds easy, but it's definitely a process that for sure requires a lot of time, requires a lot of dedication in order to select what works best for you. So in terms of what's best for you, think about um, the program research areas that you're interested in, because that's what's really important. Really thinking about what you want to focus on in terms of research, and also another thing that would help is think about the faculty members that you may want to work with, and what kind of projects they're specifically working on. So that may dictate whether you want to go, for example, and I'll just an example because we have our panelists here, whether you want to go to Cornell Tech or whether you want to go to Rice University or whether you want to go to any of our other two um, institutions, colleagues institutions that are here with us. So that's really important. Really check out the faculty profile, really check out the research, see if it aligns with what you're interested in, with your goals, with your passion. I think if that makes sense for you, that right there is a good start. Also think about the type of program that you want. Really see if that program also aligns with your goals, your interests, what you ultimately want to do. See if the program that you are interested in has any internship opportunities or anything that will bolster your professional experience. That way, once you've completed your graduate study, you have a leg up. Another thing is funding opportunities, right? See if there's any funding opportunities. Yes, of course. And we'll talk about funding a little more as we go. But of course, as you may know, with master's degrees, not always necessarily a guarantee with the PhD. Typically, that ends up being the case. But even outside of that, also, if there's any other kinds of things that are offered, like stipends and any other opportunities, and so check out to see if that program has those opportunities that you're looking for. And of course, when you're checking out institutions and really doing your research and getting a feel of this, make sure you feel comfortable. Make sure that you feel like, oh, this is really the place for me. I could see myself being here, because the reality is depending on the length of your degree, you're going to be there for a while, and you want to make sure that you feel like you're in the right place, you're with the right people, that are going to help you succeed in your career goals. And of course, location. That is definitely another important thing, especially depending on the field that you want. See if that location makes sense for the career that you're interested in. And let's talk about the types of graduate degrees, right? Because you can certainly pursue a couple different types. Of course, there's the doctoral degrees, as you can see. Of course, the doctoral degree, thesis-based degree. It typically takes 4 to 6 years to complete. Of course, it is all dependent upon you and as well as other different factors. With that particular doctoral program, it is a fully funded program and it does offer a stipend, so that's pretty awesome. And you don't need a master's to apply, so you complete your bachelor's and you apply for those. And of course, there's the research-based master's degrees. This is also a thesis-based degree, and typically that's completed in 2 years. And often, students who do this are thinking about the PhD route, and funding may be available for these kind of programs. So just want to put that out there. And last but certainly not least, the professional master's degrees. It's a non-thesis program, typically a little more on the practical side. And in terms of funding, that really does vary from institution to institution. So that is something that you may want to ask about, because that's not a guarantee. So just wanted to mention that. And just to talk a little bit about the research degrees in the U.S., if you have a specific subfield in mind, look at those schools who offer those areas. Check out the faculty that you're interested in. It is competitive, so really, really take a look at everything that you're interested in. Do your research, and definitely make sure that you get as much research experience as possible, as a lot of these institutions and professors are looking for that. And in terms of fellowships and funding, of course, PhD degrees and some research MSs typically may offer a stipend. Do take advantage of applying for fellowships, scholarships, and whether that's institutional aid, whether it's outside of institutional aid. Feel free to ask the institutions that you're working with to see if they have any recommendations. Doesn't hurt to ask. And of course, work with Education USA, right? That's what they're here for, to support you and make sure that you are aware of all the opportunities available. And of course, if you're applying to fellowships or under consideration, outline that in your CV or your resume. As mentioned, please do let admissions know. This can help maybe your application. And there's a lot of other awesome benefits just for sharing, because they might say, oh, wow, maybe this is a good fit for you and so forth. So just wanted to throw that out there. All right.
All right, thank you, Alfred. And we're going to move on to the components of the grad application. So what does that look like? Is it different for master's and PhD? So let's take a look at that together. So generally, for any graduate application in the United States, this is what you're going to be asked for. Transcripts at Rice and many universities, this can be your unofficial transcripts. You do not need to have a degree completed to start the application process. You can start the application process and then graduate and then start the program, and we can talk about that. GRE exam scores could be a thing that you have to submit for the application. English language proficiency generally is waived if you have instruction in English and for your bachelor's or master's. Application fee is a standard thing, but as Alfred said, you can always ask for fee waivers. The worst that they can say is no, it won't count against you. Proof of financial support. This is more for master's programs. And so they really want to see that, yes, you can afford the program, but also so that you can live comfortably while you're pursuing that degree. And so this could take the form of a loan letter or a scholarship letter, something like that is what you'll want to provide them. Letters of recommendation, we'll talk more about this specifically, but usually we're looking for 3 letters of recommendation. You might be asked for a wide variety of essays. Generally, there's going to be a statement of purpose that you'll want to answer. There could be others depending on the program that you're applying to. And so you'll want to make sure to follow all those directions. And we'll talk more about essays as well. CV or resume, these documents can be a little bit different. So whatever they're asking for, make sure that's what you give them. Generally for research degrees, you're going to be asked for a CV, and maybe for a master's degrees, a resume, but it could vary. And then research experience could be important to show for research degrees. It's not usually required, but if you have publications or projects in progress that you would like to talk about, you can certainly upload those as supplemental materials. So the GRE, a lot of schools are waiving this, but some still require it. And so my advice would be to take the exam early. Take it at least 1 month before your earliest application deadline, because you want to make sure that all of your materials are in and ready for that admissions committee to review when that deadline passes. So if the deadline is December 1st and they're ready to go on December 2nd, you want to make sure that all of your materials are there and waiting for that committee. I'm often asked, what makes a good GRE score? What kind of GRE score do I need to get into your university? That's really hard to answer, especially with research degrees where it's so varied and focused on student expertise, student experience in a given field. And so it's hard to answer, but you can always ask the program for that, and potentially they might be able to give you a score band that you could aim for. And then I wanted to touch on, there's a lot of talk out there about this GRE, this program is requiring the GRE. This program is recommending it or strongly recommending it. This program is waiving it. So what do all those things mean? Generally, if a program says required or recommended of any form, it means they want to see your scores. If you have scores that you're proud of, you should go ahead and submit those. For whatever reason, if they're not requiring it, but they're recommending it, that does mean they do want to see those scores. And if a program is waiving it, it means that they may not look at those scores at all, even if you submit them as a supplemental material. So just keep that in mind as you're going through your applications. Recommendation letters, Rice asks for 3. Some programs ask for less, some might ask for more, but generally the advice is review the submission requirements well before you request those letters. You can always ask for a meeting. Sit down with your recommenders to tell them about the schools that you're applying to, get their advice on what they think and what they recommend for the application process and anything that you might need to know going into that. Let them know what you've done. I always recommend when you go and send that meeting request, give them your CV, give them your bulleted highlight reel of all the great things that you have done, and make sure for PhD applications you have at least one academic letter. So one letter from a professor or somebody that can speak to your academic experience or your research potential. That's really important to show. If you've been in industry for a while though, and you're going to a PhD or you want to go to a master's and you're trying to decide, who should my letter writers be? They should be from people that know you well, that can speak to your potential in graduate school. And so choose carefully, choose people that are going to write a strong letter for you. Statement of purpose is really your chance to speak directly to the admissions committee. So think about carefully what they might want to hear. And there's a few ways that you could frame this. I always think about the statement of purpose in terms of, here's what drove me to my interest in this field. This is what really sparked my interest and why I'm so passionate about this. And then you want to talk about, while you're in grad school, what you want to do. And then the next thing should be, what do you want to do after grad school? And what do you want to contribute to the world and give back to the university? So think about it in terms of this timeline and really show that you have a good command of language. Graduate school can be a lot of writing, whatever program that you're in. And so you want to show your competency in this. So say as much as you can in as few words as possible. Be succinct, keep it simple, and keep your language clear. And you want to follow all directions carefully. So if for your statement of purpose or your essay, they're giving you a specific question to answer or a prompt, you want to make sure that you do that you follow that direction to the letter because they are looking for your answer to that question. One other thing I'll say is that essays should be specific to your program, specific to your school, and you should always double check these things before you submit them. I'm sure my colleagues every year, just like I do, get letters that say, I'd really love to come to Michigan. I'd really love to come to Cornell or USC. I would love to help them with that, but I would have to direct them to my colleagues because I work for Rice University. So you want to make sure you always name your files correctly and really tailor your essay to the program that you're applying to and make sure you submit the right essay for the right school. Okay, understanding admissions models. I think we are going to Beth.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jennifer. So understanding admissions models. So you heard a little bit already about components of the application, ways to approach a graduate school, exploring graduate school. Now we want to talk a little bit about what admissions committees and kind of what it looks like once you get the application in. So at the graduate level, admissions can be really largely decentralized. So at University of Michigan, for example, I serve as the Associate Director of Graduate Recruitment and Retention. So my job is to help departments identify really strong candidates, help students submit applications. But once it comes into the University of Michigan, that application actually goes to the department. And at the department level, that is where there are different committees. So program directors, faculty committees, we have our graduate program degree directors, both for master's and PhD, who look at these applications separately. On the research side, exactly, they're usually junior faculty on an admissions committee. So these are assistant and associate professors, especially in the STEM field. If you're looking for PhD, those are people who have openings in lab spaces, who have funding to bring in graduate students into the lab space. So they're really the ones who are also helping to read the applications. On professional side, it can also be faculty members or program directors, depending on the department makeup, the size of the university as well. A lot of times these different faculty members and readers, they're not very well versed in non-US grading scales or kind of university knowledge outside the US. However, different institutions, like here at Michigan, for example, I'll use my model. My example is our Rackham Graduate School, who does take in the general application. So there are set admissions counselors and admissions staff who are versed in that. So there is somebody who answer questions for you if you're applying as an international student coming from Canada into the US, who can help you be able to distinguish what those GPA's differences might be from your institution to a US institution. And you also want to think about the audience and those application materials. So like Jennifer was mentioning before, exactly when you write these applications, I know it's very, very tempting to kind of take your essays, your personal statement, even your research statements, and kind of just alter those a little bit and just change the name of an institution. But again, you want to tailor that specifically because you want to be writing to your audience. That is very important. You're going to learn that even as you go on in graduate school and any of the work that you do, of thinking about who is going to be reading these materials and really addressing it specifically for them to be able to access it and to understand the information you're providing. In addition, one thing to understand is thinking about a cohort admission or a direct admission. So these are things that I think Alfred mentioned earlier, and where you want to research the schools, depending on if you're going into a master's or PhD. A cohort admission typically applies professional master's programs, things like an master's in engineering, etc., where these typically are going to be more cohort-based. In other words, you have a very large cohort of students coming into a program together. It could be rotational. Some schools might choose to do interviews as well, too, in a cohort admission model. And generally, there will be like one master's program advisor that's assigned either by the end of your first semester, end of your first year, that works with every one of the students in that cohort. A direct admission is really applies a lot to a PhD program. You need a faculty member to say that they're going to kind of mentor you. This would be someone who might end up serving as your faculty advisor or a PI. Typically, it's going to be someone who you're going to need to kind of work with in advance and make a connection with before you even apply. So this is where networking really comes in handy. So if you are going to any conferences, whether in Canada, the US, professional conferences, this is an opportunity to potentially meet potential advisors. Learning how to network becomes really important in grad school, not just for those who are writing letters of recommendation, but for you also kind of matching. Who do you want to work with? Because that is also something. Every one of my colleagues here, we all come from really strong, great research institutions where we have strong faculty. But when you're looking at a PhD program, you want to confirm that not only does this institution have the major or the field that you're applying for, but is there a faculty member who can support the research that you're specifically interested in? And again, styles can differ institution to institution, both on admission style, whether it's cohort, direct. It really benefits you to connect with the institution early. That's what I know I'm here for, my colleagues are here for. We're here to help answer questions so that you can get a strong application in, and you can identify which schools, what institutions that you're going to be a strong candidate for. And so when you connect with those faculty early, whether it's a conference, you can send them an email, ask a thoughtful question. Maybe they gave a talk at your home institution and you're really interested in the research that they do. Go up to them, talk with them while you have a chance there. Email, sometimes cold calls work. Another thing that's really also helpful is to try to reach out to the grad students in the lab of the faculty you're interested in. I know here at University of Michigan, our grad students are very open and receptive to helping prospective students who are interested in talking about what it's like to work in the lab with that faculty member, but also what the environment at the school is like. That's another great question that you could be asking a faculty member as well too. The goal really is to get your name out there. You can attach your CV as well too. It really helps, I think, to have a little elevator pitch condensed into an email that you could send to a faculty member that really kind of piques their interest and says, I got to get to know this student a little bit more. And with that, I'll hand it back over to my colleague, to Jessica.
Thank you, Beth. I'll just take this time now to summarize some of the information you heard and give you some next steps that you can act on as you explore your graduate school options. So in terms of a general timeline, I think a great first step is to understand the deadlines for the programs that you're interested in applying to. It's worth noting that master's programs in particular tend to have multiple intakes or start terms depending on the university you're applying to. So most often it's common to start in the fall period, but some master's programs do have intake in the spring, some in summer. So definitely double check that information. But here's a general timeline that you might want to consider for a program that starts in the fall. So generally, online applications open sometime in the late summer. By September, you should be able to start your application, start filling out the fields that are, personal information, quick, that you can kind of familiarize yourself with the system and understand fully what you're going to need to upload by the application deadline date. A tip is to work backwards, right? So very commonly December is when many graduate applications are due for a fall start. It could be as early as December 1st, December 15th. So if you know you need all of your materials submitted by that deadline, definitely start months ahead. You heard from my colleagues how important it is to connect with faculty or with your recommenders, and doing so early. That tends to be, at least what we see at USC, a common place where students are not getting the letters they requested on time. And the last thing you need is a stressful situation before an application deadline, or for a power outage to happen during the application deadline period. So as much as possible, we recommend preparing early. So in September, you can start the application and start reaching out to your recommenders and asking for them to draft the letter for you. Also worth noting that some online applications will have like a poll system where the recommender can input information about you and upload a letter. Sometimes, so different systems work differently, but most often you'll input their information and they'll receive the email prompt to start the recommendation process. You also want to start drafting your essays, your statement of purpose, or your personal statement early on, to give you a chance to review and to really get it to a place where you feel confident by the time you're ready to submit your application. Wonderful if you have extra eyes to help you there as well. October is a great time to take your exams if they're required by the university. So whether that's the GRE or the TOEFL or the IELTS, again, allowing you sufficient time to get your scores and or retake if necessary. Also, in regards to the letters of recommendation, good idea to let the faculty or prospective employers know that the deadline is actually a bit earlier than it is, to avoid any last minute scrambling around the deadline. In November, you can start perfecting your essay, getting it to a place that you feel comfortable, making sure you're fully responding to the prompt if one was provided to you, and starting that follow-up process. If you have not heard from a faculty or whoever your recommender is, you can kind of give them a nudge. I know it was mentioned earlier, I believe by Jennifer, but it's so helpful if you can provide your recommender your updated CV and any information that will help make the process easier for them. I mentioned that December is usually when the deadlines begin, so you'll want to submit your complete application by that date. Also, I would recommend checking if there is a separate scholarship deadline. If you're applying for a master's program, sometimes institutions will have an earlier date to be considered for scholarships, or it might be a separate process altogether. Admission decisions tend to be issued anywhere between January and April or May, though most admission decisions typically happen in March or April. So for the PhD applicants, you have a national deadline to accept your PhD offer on April 15th. So you will count on getting your admission decision before this date to give you enough time to actually accept your offer. So those tend to happen earlier on in the cycle, but that it can range within that window of time. Many universities also tend to have admitted student events, and that's a really wonderful opportunity to now see yourself there and meet with other students, meet with faculty, get to know the department, and see if this is the right fit for you. So soon after receiving an admission decision is typically when you would be invited to such an event if the university offers it. In terms of resources, definitely check out the individual university websites. I think we've shared with you the ways that many factors of a university can be different. Many aspects of the admission process can be different institution to institution. I know we have a handy tool in ChatGPT to kind of break it down for us, maybe put together a handy matrix, but I think it's still worthwhile to check the individual university websites for any nuances to the admission process that might be specific to that school. Explore the information as much as possible. We know this is a big decision and a big commitment that you would be making. So it's worthwhile to make sure this program aligns with your interests, with where you see yourself thriving and succeeding for your advancement in your career in academia. Definitely, if you're interested in a PhD, you want to make sure that you understand very well about the faculty that exist at the school, their research areas. We mentioned the admission process, career services. Generally, most US institutions offer some kind of career service for its graduate students, but what that looks like can be very different. So, do they provide you with programming to get in touch with prospective employers? Do they have mixers with recruiters? Do they help prepare you for your resume and your interviews? Definitely check all of that out because I'm sure it plays an important role in your decision making for your graduate school. If you want to do a PhD or maybe pursue an MS that's more research focused and you don't have research experience yet, it's worthwhile to get some in your undergraduate degree. There are many ways that you can do that. Sometimes students pursue like a summer research program or just take on the opportunity as part of your degree. This will definitely make you a more competitive applicant, specifically for PhD applications. If you are required to take the GRE, there are plenty of preparation resources out there, and I'm sure Education USA can point you in the right direction for that. You can sign up for mailing lists for the institutions that interest you. Most will have emails to keep you posted on any updates about the application deadline coming up, about webinars they're hosting or events. Maybe they're coming to your city and a recruiter will be there to chat with you more in detail. So definitely sign up to stay up to date with what each university is doing. Attend those information sessions, ask questions, just like the one we're in today, but this allows you to dive in much more detail with the specific schools that you're looking to apply to. And yeah, don't hesitate to reach out to people from those places. So you can talk to admission staff, but you can also talk to current students. Many universities have student ambassadors that are eager to speak with you and answer your questions and give you that perspective of what it's actually like to be a master's or PhD student at that school. There are alumni networks all over the world for many of our universities where they're, again, happy to reach out, or they might host events that you're welcome to attend. Definitely research funding opportunities. Fulbright is an excellent one that I hope many of you have heard of, but we can definitely provide more information. But there are lots of opportunities out there that might help sponsor your education in the United States. And read journals. So especially if you're going to go on into research and to being a doctoral student, your reading journals now will already help familiarize you with the kind of writing that might be expected as a graduate student. And so that's just good practice and good prep. It's highly technical, very structured, and you likely will have resources as a graduate student on how to perfect it. But this is a great way to dip your toe. I think that concludes our portion of generally the admission process. Now is a time that we can individually speak to you about our universities, and I think we're going to kick off with Alfred at Cornell Tech.
Thank you so much. All right. You got a lot of wonderful schools here, a lot of wonderful admissions professionals. So I hope you guys are thrilled. So I'll formally introduce myself so you guys know a little bit about me. So as mentioned earlier, I'm the Assistant Director of Marketing and Graduate Recruitment, and I represent admissions for our technical programs at Cornell Tech. So as you can see, we have a wide variety of programs at Cornell Tech. And just to give you guys a little bit more information, Cornell Tech is Cornell University's New York City campus, and it's our graduate student only campus. So only master's programs and doctorate programs are at that campus. So just wanted to put that out there. Outside of the programs that we have here, we also have a law program, we have an MBA program, and as I mentioned, some PhD programs. And the programs that I represent are our Masters of Engineering, which are in computer science, which are both in full-time and part-time. We have a data science and decision analytics. We have electrical and computer engineering, and we have operations research and information engineering. And then, of course, we have our 2-year research-focused programs, which are our Jacobs Technion Cornell Dual Masters. So that is in Cornell Connected Media, Health Tech, and Urban Tech. So I wanted to talk about what differentiates us from most institutions. Of course, when you're looking to pursue an MEng, you are going to get some experiential learning component for sure. And at our institution at Cornell Tech, we actually have a set curriculum called the studio curriculum. Usually when people think of studio, they think of art. Fun fact, that's kind of like the inspiration behind the name, but it's not necessarily anything to do with art itself. So Cornell Tech Studio, it's a year-long program. It's an interdisciplinary experience. So if you're a Master's of Engineering student, you're going to work with our information science students, which are our Jacobs Dual MS program students. You're going to work with our MBA students. You're going to work with our law students. So you're going to work together with folks of all different disciplines and work on these projects together. Your goal is to pretty much develop those digitally enabled products and services, so that way you can responsibly serve these real-world problems. So as opposed to a case study, what happens is you guys actually work with real companies. So every year, when you take something called Product Studio, what happens is we get these companies throwing out these real challenges that they're dealing with at their company. And you guys get to select from this list. And once you end up deciding, you'll work alongside that company and get any feedback on the project. So it is a pretty fantastic experience. I do want to let you know you're working more on the idea of it, but still I think it's great that you're dealing on a real world problem. And then your second semester you get the opportunity to choose a different studio experience, whether you want to do our startup studio experience. If you have an idea, that is your project that you can work on. Whether you want to do big company studio, which is working with a VP or higher level at, for example, a Google or at Amazon, and working on the project that they assign you, or our PyTech Impact Studio, which is for students who want to work with nonprofits or government agencies, so things of that nature. So really awesome opportunity. And I also wanted to mention, outside of what makes us different, if you're applying to Cornell Tech, we do have scholarship opportunities. They typically do range anywhere from 10 to 40,000. So that is dependent on the student and how strong their application is. What I want to let you know is it's simple as you just basically saying, yes, I want to be considered for scholarship on your application. So just want to put that out there. And of course, if you guys want to stay connected with us, we are on the social media channels out there, like the Facebooks, the TikToks, the Instagram, X, I always confuse it, say Twitter, and so on. So a great way to see what's going on from a professional standpoint, but we also put the fun stuff as well. You're there to get your career, but of course, it's okay to have a little fun as well. And of course, there's our website, which is tech.cornell.edu. And of course, that admissions at tech.cornell.edu. That's a great way to connect with me. So if you need anything, just email. I do check that on a regular basis. And I will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. But yeah, that's me. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jennifer.
It's me. Thank you so much, Alfred. Yeah, so I'm Jennifer Hunter. I work in the Office of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies at Rice University. If you've never heard of Rice, we are a small private institution in Houston, Texas, and we're very, very focused on research. We do have some fantastic doctoral programs, some research masters and professional masters in a variety of schools, including architecture, engineering, business, humanities, music, social sciences, and natural sciences. And engineering. I think I said engineering. So really encourage you to think about us as a great option for graduate school. I mentioned that we are a small university. We have about 4,000 grad students and 4,000 undergrads. It's pretty evenly split though. And so I would say a lot of the focus at our university is on graduate students, and our graduate students have a lot of representation and a lot of opportunity to affect change for the students on campus. So a great place to be, a very close-knit community, and a great place to live in Houston. And so Houston is the fourth largest city in the United States. It's arguably one of the most diverse and a great place for all kinds of things. If you're interested in outdoor activities, sports, or dining, which is my favorite thing to do in Houston, or theater, we really have it all. And we're in a great location. So you can see from this photograph, this is kind of the front door of Rice. The rest of the campus is behind the photographer's viewpoint. You can see downtown Houston there on the left, and just out of frame on the other side is the Texas Medical Center. It's the largest medical center in the world, and that's great for a few reasons. The first one is, we hate to get sick, but if it happens, you are in a great place with lots of people to care for you. And the second is, because we're so focused on research, we have a lot of collaborations with doctors and surgeons and clinicians over in the Texas Medical Center. Virtually every field of study, from architecture to music to engineering to natural sciences, all have collaborations over in the Med Center. So great place to be. Very, very big city as well. I've been here for 11 years. I had, of course, a lot of preconceived notions about Texas and what it would be like. Certainly there are cactus here, there are cows here, of course, but there's also a very cosmopolitan city that's got a global reach. And so really amazing place to live. Encourage you to give us a chance and check us out. We talked a little bit about funding, and I wanted to talk a little bit in particular about Fulbright. And I manage the Fulbright at Rice group. I will put a link in the chat to that. If you're thinking about applying to Fulbright or have already applied to Fulbright, we really encourage your application. We have a very strong community here at Rice of about 70 different Fulbrighters from all over the world, all fields of study. And we make sure that we live this cultural and educational exchange, this mission that Fulbright has. And we really value our Fulbrighters on campus and try to make it a culture on our campus, the Fulbright culture on campus. So if you have questions about that process, encourage you to reach out to me. We do waive tuition for all Fulbrighters that are accepted to Rice. And so it's a really great opportunity to get funding for graduate school as well. Let's see, I think I have one more slide. I did also want to mention that we have an opportunity coming up this fall to get an application fee waiver for our doctoral programs. So we would love to have you apply for our fee waiver weeks. You can start applying for that in just a couple months in October. If you go to this link or scan this QR code, there is an option to put in your information so that you get reminders about this program that we're running. But it will run for 2 weeks. There's some basic requirements that you have to meet, including just our standard graduate entry requirements. And we also want you to submit your application early. So encourage you to think about this. It's a great way to get your application off your desk and onto somebody else's, which is the best place for it to be, and kind of have some breathing room once you apply. So would love to see your application for this. I'm going to go ahead and put my email address in the chat. So if you have any questions after this event and you want to touch base or get more information about Rice, please do feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm always happy to take questions. And I believe I'm going to turn it over to Jessica next.
Yes, thank you. And I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because I know we are reaching time and want to make sure we have plenty of time to answer your questions. So my name is Jessica Stern. I work for the University of Southern California, the School of Engineering in particular, which offers 65 plus master's programs and 13 PhD programs in the fields of engineering and computer science alone. Our university is located in downtown Los Angeles. I imagine imagine you've heard of this city or been there. Yeah, so we're definitely a big city and big university with 47,000 students, but it's not uncommon to hear that we are like a liberal art school within a large major university, because every school, whether it's the School of Engineering, the School of Cinematic Arts, the School of Communication and Journalism, has its own really tight-knit community with incredible support and services. We are also, we comprise of 22 academic schools and divisions, but we see how that plays a role specifically within the School of Engineering, where we really promote a lot of interdisciplinary study and actually partner with various schools. Oh, someone's scanning the presentation. Sorry. Let me try to navigate back to where we were. But what I was saying is that we actually partner with several schools within the university to offer master's programs that are cross-disciplinary, because we definitely believe in engineering plus, which is that engineering plus another field is really what it takes to address many of society's greatest challenges. So here's just a snapshot of the various academic departments that our master's and PhD programs fall under. I mentioned we're a research university. We account for 50% of the university's research, with expertise in space, in quantum, and AI and machine learning, and sustainability, but so much more. So please, if you're interested in studying in Los Angeles, where we do hire more engineers than any other city in the States, where Silicon Beach is about a 30-minute drive, where we have our own research centers and you have opportunities to do internships and research. Do check us out. In terms of funding, we do offer partial merit-based scholarships for master's students. Those tend to range on a variety of factors. If you are a Fulbright master's student, you will get at least a 50% tuition scholarship. And as a PhD student, your funding will be guaranteed. So that includes tuition and a stipend for living, health benefits, and more. Last shout out before I turn it over to Beth, we do have a preview day event that is open to anyone in North America to explore USC's graduate programs. You can come to our campus, meet our departments, tour labs, and get a taste for USC Trojan Life. We do offer a limited number of travel grants for this event. So if you're interested, you can scan the QR code, and I can leave my email as well. You can always reach out to me directly. Thank you so much, and I will turn it over to Beth.
Great. Hi, all. I introduced myself earlier, but I'll remind you, my name is Beth Duttridge Corp. I am the Associate Director of Graduate Recruitment and Retention for the University of Michigan College of Engineering, located in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We are a small town, but we are a large town. Here in Ann Arbor, there are over just 120,000 people who live, but University of Michigan is one of the largest public institutions in the U.S. Many of our Michigan engineering graduate programs consistently rank among the top in the US and the world, including 10 of our departments, which rank pretty well, as noted by the US News and World Report. Our college boasts more than 600 faculty members, including members of the National Academy of Engineering and recipients of many prestigious awards and fellowships. We actually have quite a number of our engineering faculty, as well as other faculty in one of our 19 schools and colleges across our campus who are also former Fulbrighters. I myself am a former Fulbright ambassador and former Fulbright advisor. So I love to always speak about the power that Fulbright can bring. If you haven't heard about Fulbright, again, like, we can answer questions for you. In addition, Michigan Engineering, we're really known for tackling complex global challenges. Some of the big things that our institution focuses on in the research and the work being done here is in sustainability, autonomous systems, quantum science, also advanced manufacturing, global manufacturing, as well as a lot of different interdisciplinary research. We have 13 departments just in engineering alone. In addition, we have 4 different graduate degree programs. pretty much if there is a type of engineering you'd like to study, you could do it here at Michigan. In addition to our departments and programs in engineering, like our other colleagues mentioned, we also allow our graduate students and we encourage them to collaborate across the departments as well as with other units on campus. We have a really renowned medical school. We have an amazing school of public health. Our Ross School of Business ranks in the top in the US as well too. And there's many, many other different schools and colleges we have on our campus that a lot of our engineers here are doing work with. And we offer that ability for our graduate students to do that as well too. We also offer cutting edge facilities. So our college hosts advanced research labs, such as the Michigan Center for Integrative Research and Critical Care. We have our Lurie nanofabrication facility. We also are home to the largest laser, Zeus, which a lot of people are really excited to come and explore with us as well too. We also do a partnership with our applied physics program, which is housed in our College of Literature, Science, and the Arts. So for those who are interested in doing crosswork in physics and engineering, University of Michigan might be a place for you. In addition, we maintain a lot of partnerships with industry partners, leaders in automotive, aerospace, information technology, and more. We have a lot of opportunities for internships and have really great success with job placement rates for our graduates as well. If you are interested in applying, our deadlines for our PhD programs tend to be December 1st or December 15th. If you're interested in our master's programs, the deadlines will be January 15th. We require our online application, a personal statement, a statement of purpose or a research statement, 3 letters of recommendation, and transcripts. Our institution does not require GRE scores for our PhD programs. However, if you're interested in our master's programs, we ask that you scan the QR code, which will take you to our page to learn more about our master's programs. Some will require the GRE. And if you are interested in getting in touch with us, my colleague Obi Uneze is our graduate recruitment coordinator. Please reach out to him. You can also reach me at this email address shown here on the screen, as well as check out our website. We are more than happy to talk with you. If you're interested in something other than Michigan engineering, please feel free to reach out to us as well. We're happy to put you in touch with our colleagues who do admissions with our program in biomedical sciences over in our medical school, our School of Public Health, and our College of Literature, Science, and the Arts, where our physics, our natural sciences, biophysics things are housed as well. And with that, I'll turn it back over so we can maybe take some questions before we wrap our session tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, every presenter. That was really informative. Before we move on to the Q&A session, I do have a pop-up, which is our Education USA Instagram. Yeah, so everybody can see our Instagram account. So you can follow our Instagram again. And we do Tuesday tips, which is very helpful college application tips for all the students. And also we have our events updates, webinar updates, in-person school tours updates, and etc. Just feel free to follow us. And also in the handout section, I uploaded some really helpful documents as well. One of them is the Fulbright program that both Jennifer and Jessica mentioned. So I also have put the Fulbright website in the chat box, which is www.fulbright.ca. And also in our Education USA Canada website, we have some really helpful documents for our graduate students as well. Okay, so now it's time to answer some questions. So if you have any questions, you can type it in the Q&A column, or you can just type it in the chat box if it's easier. And like every presenter mentioned, we have their email address in the chat box as well. So if you want to reach out to them privately, you can also do it. we did have a few questions that at the beginning of the webinar, which is about the typical minimum GPA requirements for the graduate programs and the typical length of the graduate programs, the typical cost of the graduate programs. Okay, so now I see a new message here. When would you recommend applying for funding? And can you talk a bit more about the funding from Fulbright? Are there opportunities to do an exchange with Fulbright? Okay, I think either Jennifer or Jessica, you have the Fulbright background or experience. You can answer this question.
Yeah, so I'm happy to talk a little bit about applying to fellowships broadly. I think it's a great time now to start looking for what is available and what is out there to apply for. I'm not 100% sure when the Fulbright Canada application opens for the following year, but I'm sure that there's going to be an application opening soon. The funding from Fulbright will cover your stipend for graduate study, if I'm saying that correctly, Rachel. And please correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe so. We do have I think it's $25,000. That's that's the Fulbright scholarship.
And your stipend will vary based on the city that you choose. So
okay.
your stipend it can be different. Like for example, in Jessica's institution than it is in mine, based on where you are going to school. And so you'll need to kind of look at that as well. I don't know about the opportunities to do an exchange with Fulbright. That might be a question for Rachel or for Beth also.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say, so I think every institution with funding is a little bit different. And depending on the program that you're applying for, I think you mentioned earlier. So for University of Michigan, all of our incoming PhD students are guaranteed 5 years of funding. That includes a stipend, that includes your tuition, and that includes health benefits. If you are coming in as a Fulbright student from Canada to the US, and you're looking to do like a master's program, as Rachel said, you would want to check what the cost of attendance would be and what Fulbright would cover. Some of our master's programs might have some additional funding for international students, some might not. So you always want to check to see what tuition coverage would be. If it's 25,000, is that enough to complete your program, depending on, is it a 1-year master's, is it 18 months, is it a 2-year master's, depending on the research you're doing. And then depending, every institution again is different about what the exchange might be for Fulbright. I know I can only speak to the Fulbright US student program, which is what I used to advise for, and what we used to send students out to go do as PhD students abroad, either to do research or to complete graduate degrees abroad, like in the UK, for example, about what that process and application would be, but also what the funding would be. So you really would want to work both with the institution and ask those questions. And the department could put you in contact with a campus Fulbright advisor who could help address those questions, but also connecting with like Rachel and EdUSA to kind of talk a little bit more about what that might look like for you.
Thank you, Beth. I also have because I don't work directly for Fulbright, but I do have the Fulbright's office, their contact information in the chat box. So you can just send them an email and ask for more detailed information. So I think we have another question, which is, what if I couldn't find people to provide me strong letters of recommendations?
I can chime in here. I guess first is double check whether letters of recommendation are required with your program application. For example, many of our master's programs make them optional, whereas others it's highly recommended, or definitely in the case of PhD required. If you do need to submit letters of recommendation and you have some flexibility, I would consider maybe getting creative. If you don't have a relationship already built with a professor, what about an academic academic advisor or an employer or supervisor that can really speak to qualities about you that would make you successful as a graduate student. So, it doesn't have to be always the professor, especially for a master's program, although for PhD, we do recommend at least one academic. So if you volunteered in the lab or you worked in the lab, is there someone that supervised you in that capacity that could speak to your skills? If you still can't really think of that kind of connection, maybe start building those relationships now. And it could be as easy as scheduling a meeting with a professor just to share that what your intent is with graduate school and starting that way. I don't know if anyone else has something to add to that.
Yeah, I just a little quick point that I wanted to add is um sometimes that does happen, unfortunately. So that was a great point. Um I would also say that if you can't find someone that can directly speak about the experience you have for the program that you're interested in, maybe pick somebody who maybe can discuss transferable skills. I think that's always a plus. I mean, even when you think about it from a work perspective or anything of that nature, transferable skills are extremely valuable. So I would say that's another option as well. So just do the best you can. And of course, you're more than welcome to share that with the schools you're working with as well. Um, Being transparent about this, so at least they kind of know that ahead of time.
Thank you, Alfred. Because of the time limit, we can only answer one more question. We do have a question about the federal budget cutting. I think a lot of people have this sort of question as well. How do the recent federal budget cutting affect PhD programs in general?
So we're all here. We all want to see what our universities and that's something that we all believe really strongly, that we have great PhD programs. Those are all continuing. It's possible that some funding cuts may translate to being having smaller classes, but for the most part, moving forward, we are all here and hoping that you will consider us and choose us for your PhD programs.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anybody else wants to add anything? Okay. Thank you, everyone, for, I don't think we have more time. Okay, so we do have another question. So I don't think we have more time to answer those questions. So if you have more questions, feel free to send the email to the admission representatives. And I think they have all put their email address in the chat box. So you can just feel free to reach out to them if you have any other questions. And thank you, everyone, for participating in today's webinar. This webinar is recorded, and anyone who has participated who has registered will receive the recording probably 1 hour or 2 hours after this. So thank you again, and have a great night, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Rachel. Thanks, all.
Thank you. Bye.